Okay, good morning everybody. My name is Mika Nieminen from Aalto University of Finland. I have 24 slides, about 25 minutes of speaking and 5 minutes till coffee break. This is a problem to me as a Finnish person. So let's go and see where we can get, and hopefully there's still going to be something left after I'm done. So I'm going to be talking about the ERICS, which is a technology transfer project partially funded by EIT Digital, which is the ICT branch of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. So that's where our EU money comes from. And basically the service that I'm talking about, this is going to be complicated. I'll just go forward and it comes to. So ERICS is a project, it's not really a service. The service is Capiche, and no, I did not come up with that name. Then I'll give you some sort of overview on the workflows. So I'm basically going to talk about the strategies, the process that we are using to get the translations done. And it is a combination of crowdsourcing and machine translations. And there is hopefully a demo at the end, we'll see. So the ERICS project is basically, it's a technology transfer from the academic partners to the multimedia solutions branch of Deutsche Telekom. They are running the largest refugee portal in Europe. They rebranded it this year, so at the moment it's called handbookgermany.de. It used to be Refugees Telecom.de. And at least at that point they had, I think, more than 240,000 registered users on the portal. Other partners in the project is Crowdy, which is a spin-off of TU Berlin. It's a company who is building a Europe-wide, or at least German-wide, crowdsourcing platform. Basically, they are engaging with people who would like to do small jobs on their desktops or their mobiles to earn very little money. Then, of course, we have TU Berlin. DFKI is basically doing the machine translation, artificial intelligence part on the project, and Aalto University, being me and my group, we are basically looking on behalf of the human well-being, so user-centered design, user involvement, how can we engage the people into contributing to the translation tasks. And as I said, the money is coming from EIT Digital Cities action line. Capiche, this was announced a couple of months back. We are making very high-quality promises. We are saying that we are doing real-time translations for German, English, Arabic, Persian by 2017. Okay, we have still 2 months to go. I don't think we do that yet. But I am hopeful that during next year, the project is at the moment continuing until end of 18. We will have this and probably a few others in the pipeline. Not only translating, we are also trying to be a little bit sensitive on the immigration issue and the refugee issue as such. So we do have also a little bit of a censorship in there. So trying to get the extremist and other messaging away from the translated documents or discussions. And basically at the moment we have an MVP. I'm an engineer, so we do love our acronyms. That's a minimum viable product. So basically it's a very early prototype that we are currently running tests for the rest of the year. And most of the actual machine learning pipeline is going to be plugged in during next year, when we are also trying to get almost real-time translation available, which will take form as a chatbot. Okay. Now it becomes very, very difficult. I don't assume that you are very familiar with crowdsourcing, so let's have a very short example. And I did write this down. Hyvää huomenta, mukava nähdä teidät kaikki täällä tänään. Ajattelin pitää esitykseni suomeksi. Statistically, one person besides me could translate that in this room. Okay, I know there's going to be at least 5 or 6 here, but this is an anomaly. In this crowd of about 100 people, we could probably engage a handful of people who could do this task. Probably not, since we are only paying about 50 cents for completing that. But if we would extend this crowd to cover whole of Brussels, we would probably have 2,000, 3,000 people with the competent skill both in Finnish and whatever would be the target language, let's say English, that would actually take this task. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to engage not only the refugees or immigrants, but basically anybody in possession of those skills to cover the languages that we are targeting. Basically, at the moment, we are going for Arabic, we are going for Persian, we're going for later stages, Russian, basically all the big immigration languages in Europe. And we are engaging these people through crowdsourcing. Basically, it means we are offering very small micro jobs that they can pick out from a web service or from a mobile phone's application, and they can then do these one sentence or even one word on the smallest scale translations, and then they will get paid for doing that. If they keep doing it enough, you can actually earn a living on it. Not very big living, but still a living. And it's something that we hope is going to help also the integration part of them being in Europe, basically waiting for to be processed, to be accepted as European, well, if not citizens, at least residents. They have nothing else to do, so this might be something to keep them busy. Okay, how does crowdsourcing work? Crowdsourcing works in a way that we are basically having, in this case, let's say, an article in Arabic. I'm sure you can't read it in the back, but I'll spell it out to you. In our current prototype, we have a two-stage process where we have a translation stage and then we have a proofreading stage. And basically what we do is we take the document that comes in from the Deutsche Telekom OT systems Adobe system. Basically the CMS is the publication system is sending it to us using XLIF, which is the translation standard. And we are breaking it down into smaller chunks. Basically the translation unit is a sentence. And then we are splitting it into lots of people. In most cases, we are talking 5 to 10 people for each of those units. They will translate them, then they will come back to us, and then we will do another set of proofreading tasks when we give the translations to other set of 5 to 10 people who will go and look for errors. And hopefully after that, we have something that we can collect and combine to be a very well translated and validated text. That is the plan. At the moment, there is no machine translation or artificial intelligence included. But this is the picture where we are going. So we are, I assume, very close to plugging in our machine learning backend, which will give us several benefits. Basically, when a translation job is put into the system, it is given to the machine learning backend, which will give a translation out of it. And based on the knowledge in the machine learning backend, they can also give us what we call user interface extensions. I'll come back to that later in the presentation, but basically they are what we are using to basically reproduce the sort of CAT tools that most of you are using on desktop or on your translation applications. We are building those into the mobile clients that the crowd workers would be using to do the microtransaction translations. And whatever we are getting back from the crowd, it is also fed back to the machine learning system, and this gives us the additional benefit that we can use that for context and domain identification. We can use that to build glossaries. We can do very specific context-sensitive translations for individual terms or words and feed that to build a model. Since I am not coming from the language technology side, I have no idea what that means, but I am being told that we are using neural machine translations. Since we are academics, we have no money, we are using open source solutions. So basically we are using the Opus Corpora at the moment to learn our machine, and I've been told that it should be ready by next week. And as I said, these are basically some of the functions that we are hoping for the machine learning, the AI part, to give us. It will give us keywords and glossaries depending on the translated documents or the domains of that. It will give us some context towards how to choose the best translation drafts, and it will give us the actual translation drafts that we can propose to the people to help them actually complete the tasks. Okay, I was asked to talk about workflows, so workflows I will talk. Basically, in crowdsourcing, you have two ways of doing a good job. You can either make the optimal coordination of the workflow. You can have the best possible order of things to do, and kind of do a very good algorithm for the people to be part of the machine. The other way of increasing the quality is actually to make it easy, make it fun, make it usable, and basically make sure that you can capture the motivation and commit the people to the tasks. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that, so we are going to talk about mostly about the workflows. The goal, of course, is how can we come up with good translations and make it more likely than getting a bad translation. And the problem is that the crowd workers, even though they are screened, they are profiled. When they are entering for the tasks, they have to pass a very small language checking test so that they can accept these translation jobs, but still we have no real way of knowing what it is that they actually do when they are entering the translations. So hopefully there is a way of going by that. In most cases, crowdsourcing is done based on this kind of a divide and conquer policy, that you are taking a large job and you are making it into very small bits, and you are giving it out to hundreds or thousands of people, and then you kind of get back the small bits very fast. And also, if there is an error, if it's only in a very small part of the text or very small part of the job, then it's easy to do it again, and it's not so expensive to redo a lot of the stuff. And basically that kind of takes it from document level to paragraphs to sentences, and in some parts even to single words and terms. The problem with people is that they are inherently lazy. There is amazing many people who are willing to do a huge amount of copy pasting from one document to Google Translate back to one document instead of actually using their brain to do it, probably half the time. But then again, there are also the other people who do a very thorough job. They contribute a lot more than we actually expected, and they make it really difficult to use the translations that they give, because they are basically doubling the information in the sentence, because they are making very sure that everything is in their right place. Okay, there is a way of getting through these, and that's basically one of the workflows that I'm going to tell you about. It's called Find, Fix, and Verify. And hopefully that can be seen all the way to the back. So basically it's a three-stage process where we are first having a group of people looking for problems. Then we have the next pipeline is people fixing those problems, and then we have the third stage, verifying those problems. And the good thing about this is that it is quite effective. It is also quite cheap. It is easily parallelizable. It can be implemented with different granularities. So the size of the translation unit doesn't compose any restrictions to using this approach. And it does seem to be doing a better job than just having a single person go through the text and go through the stuff. So going up and down on the level of the translation unit or the size of the translation unit can be used as an advantage. One other bonus on this one is that it actually can also play on the linguistic skills of the crowd workers, because basically on the first set, when you are actually coming up with the translation, or when you are finding the correct translation, you do require a very high skill. But then again, when you are moving towards the verification, you basically do not need to be competent on the actual source language at all, because you are basically proofreading most likely your own native language text and just making sure that it's fluent and correct. Another way of making sure that we get the right thing at the end is doing it again and again. And since I'm an engineer, I do like my flowcharts. Basically, we will take an article, we will split it down to paragraphs, we will split it down into sentences. At that point, we can do a machine translation on those sentences, hopefully getting something sensible out of it. And then instead of asking the people to start from the scratch to do the translations, we will give them the machine translated sentences, and they will kind of start rewriting them. So they are basically post-editing the drafts that we are giving them. And then those are then combined back into paragraphs, and then at paragraph level, they can be read to improve the language, so basically the fluency of the language, and then the paragraphs can also be improved for syntax, so if there is any lexical or other mistakes in there. And hopefully at the end, we will have the article back into one piece again. This is something that those in the front can cheat, that this was actually used to translate a book in 1 hour, the article that I'm citing here. I think they had close to 2,000 crowd workers, and basically they were able to do about 30 pages an hour using this method. And while doing that, it also significantly outperformed machine translations. Basically, the fluency was completely above any of that then current machine translations. This is a few years old article. Okay, so basically, that's kind of the very short introduction to crowdsourcing and how that could be used in machine besides machine translation into your work. And basically 2 approaches. You can do a lot of stuff at the same time, small chunks, a lot of people working on them, and then trying to find the best pieces to combine for your actual end result. And then the other one is the iterative approach that basically doing it again in stages allows you to come up with the quality that we all are hoping to get. Mostly we are hoping that including the machine learning into the business will make it a little bit faster and a little bit cheaper. And we are also hoping that it will transform a lot of the creative or a lot of the create tasks of coming up with translations into more of a validating task. So the machine learning is good for giving us drafts, which are sometimes good, sometimes not so good. And because our target audience is not professional translators, we do see that they will get the benefit. I had yesterday discussions here with somebody who said that very bad machine translation drafts are even worse than not having them, because it takes so much longer to actually fix them than to just do it without having anything. But since we are talking about non-professional translators who are basically the experts of the context of that thing. So if we are translating immigration guidelines for Syrian refugees in Germany, then the Syrian refugee in Germany most likely knows a lot about the words and context of these texts. So, a demo, maybe. Basically, I only have screenshots, so this is the workflow of the current version that we have. So basically, we have the translate and we have the proofread versions. You probably don't see the text, but we will start by saying hello. Please translate the following sentences. And then they are given the sentence and they can input whatever they think that that would be in Arabic in this case. And then they are also asked about the certainty. They are self-assessing themselves. How competent do I think I was when I was doing this translation? And these will help us link back on the quality and validation of the actual contents that they give us. And then we hopefully thank them at the end. On the proofreading stage, they are given the whole text. In this case, it's a little bit too short. It's only a couple of sentences, but basically they are given the whole text, and then they are asked to sentence by sentence find errors in it and also point out if they think there is anything illegal hate talk in there or anything similar that should be taken out. And they are then proposed also, they can propose a correction. To my understanding, that this would be a better translation for this particular sentence. And then at the end, they are giving an estimate on the quality. And in most cases, we are playing the statistics game. We cannot assume to know too much about the actual skills and quality of the work that these individuals do, but since we are doing them in parallel several times and in the pipeline, validating after the work that they have done, we are hoping that we can get good enough results. Our aim is not perfect translation. Our aim is to provide access to information that at the moment is not available. And then we say thank you. And then there's the couple of extensions that we are going to be implementing as soon as we get the machine translation backbone plugged in. So we are going to give the drafts, which are the machine translated suggestions for the sentence. And then we are going to be also picking up the keywords or building a glossary and providing them what we think are the correct translations for certain terms or definitions in the work that they are doing. And we are also providing them a little bit of context. So instead of just having a single line coming out of nowhere, please translate this to Arabic, we are giving them a little bigger of a picture, but not forcing them to read the whole document, since that is not cost efficient. If we have to pay the people to first read for 5 minutes and then translate for 30 seconds, it's going to be a little bit awkward on our part. But that's pretty much what I had in mind.
Yeah, thank you for showing us this very, very interesting approach. Actually, you raised one very important point, and it's the translation quality, which we want to have a look at in the next session, and how to manage that. Of course, the other point that you made, it's the combination of machine translation and human revision, human input, human translation. And this really seems to be the best way to go forward, to have a good machine translation basis and then move on from that. It seems just to be a very efficient way for the future. And I hope we can achieve that.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Thank you for a very nice presentation. I just wanted to know how concerned you are with the background of these non-professional translators. Are you concerned with, for example, their education level?
I do think that when they are signing up for the crowdsourcing, they are filling out their educational background. We are not assuming them to be professional translators, so no, we are not asking for certificates. Before being able to accept any of the translation jobs, they do have to pass a very short text. So basically they have to give us a couple of samples on translated sentences or a little bit longer texts. And after that, they can pick out these jobs. So basically, how the thing works is the people who have been approved, they can go into either with their web browser or with their mobile phone, they can go into the portal and there's basically jobs to be taken. And basically, they just say that, okay, translation job, €1.20. And then that would be the thing. But no, we are not screening them. We are not screening them out. In the future, when we do get the machine going, we will use the scores from those tests and from their previous translation jobs to improve the quality in a way that we can identify the people who are better. And then we can use them into those phases where actually the bilingual skills are necessary.
Hi, thank you very much. It's a very interesting project. I have just a question about the self-rating and the quality rating. So you don't have a Likert scale, you have some sort of a range that you've asked people to. So slide 22, I think, was an example. Do you give them instructions as to what the range means to somebody or what it should mean? I mean, it's quite subjective what somebody would think is moderate. And are they assessing in terms of adequacy and fluency and understanding that question? And did you find a broad range of disagreements using that quality metric?
This is the first prototype that we are now started testing, actually, or will be starting next week live. So we have no additional information on top of that. Providing the instructions for a person who is not a professional translator, whose basically only asset is that he is one of the 1,000 available persons who speak Farsi in Berlin. I don't think we can assume them to have. They probably cannot do a better job even if we would told them what we mean with the perfect and what we would mean with the medium. So it's a subjective scale. It's something that will probably be different from individual to individual, and when we are collecting the historical data, we can hopefully then normalize it at some point. But now we are basically just starting so that we allow them to give us that information, and then we can cross-reference it into the validation steps that how well that it actually seem to reflect their competence.
Kiitos, Mika. I know you were looking forward to get to the coffee because I'm a Finn too, so I quite appreciate that.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean, absolutely. But thank you very much. That was really, really refreshing, and it kind of turns the whole idea of how we are traditionally thinking about translating other way around. It's interesting. And also I was very happy that you are paying for the people who do crowdsourcing for you. So that's very considerate and a good part of your project. All in all, I don't have any questions. I was inspired. Thank you.
Thank you.